as a father, it's appreciating
Of
the
course.
gesture.
It's super cute. And it's little kids trying to balance this tray and bring in
But now it's weird when
runny
they're in their
eggs
20s bringing breakfast in bed. Welcome to With You Podcast,
where we explore relationships and life transitions.
I'm David.
And I'm Tara.
And today we're going to be celebrating fathers.
Yeah, let's do it. We're going to talk about fatherhood. We're approaching Father's Day, which always sneaks up on me.
Yeah, it does. It kind of pops up and it's the middle of summer, but it's surprisingly quick with all the other stuff going on.
Yeah, we've been a little busy. Like I just got back in town and you are teaching like a madman this summer.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I get to teach development, family therapy, all sorts of fun stuff. So, but it does mean little time for anything else.
Yeah, it's not been a leisurely summer, but we are excited to talk about fatherhood.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
because you are one.
I am one, and I've been one for a while, and I'm getting ready to be in grandfatherhood.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know what that is.
No, but there's no well, maybe there's a grandparents' day, but I don't know. It's a secondary Hallmark holiday.
Yeah, I thought that Father's Day was just a U.S. thing. And I did a little, while you were teaching, I did a little research.
You did a little research.
Because, we always need background in history. And so our Father's Day started in the U.S. Ours in the U.S. started in the mid-20th century. And I'm going to drop some facts on you.
All right, drop them.
So the idea of Fatherhood Day came from Sonora Smart Dodd, who wanted to honor her Civil War dad. So her dad fought in the Civil War as a veteran. And his name was William Jackson Smart. And he was a single dad raising 6 kids. And she was like,
Bless him.
He needs to be celebrated. And so that didn't happen right away. And then 50 years later.
So not in his lifetime.
Not in his lifetime. But then the first Father's Day was June 19th, 1910. And it didn't it went through a lot of presidents. So President Coolidge said, hey, that's a cool idea. We should make it a holiday. And it was 100 years ago that Coolidge said that. And then things got busy and that didn't happen. And then President Johnson proclaimed Father's Day in 1966, but it didn't become a holiday, a federal holiday, until Richard Milhous Nixon, President Nixon, did it in 1966.
All right.
So Father's Day in the U.S. has been going on from 1972. So
after our lifetime, our lifetime.
Yeah, my dad went 3 years without me having to celebrate him as Father's Day. But I Googled, because there's this amazing machine.
You should be careful when you do that.
Yeah, it seemed to be okay. And I found out there's Father's Days all over the world. So U.S., Canada, U.K., South Africa, India, Mexico, and Japan all celebrate it the third Sunday of June. And it's usually family meals together and fun activity. Brazil, second Sunday in August. Australia, New Zealand, first Sunday in September. I know, hold on. Russia, February 23rd. And it just honors all men, which I thought was nice. Italy, it's on St. Joseph's Day. And then lastly, Germany. And I wanted to get to this one because I think we should adopt some of the things of the Germans.
Okay.
Germany celebrates it 40 days after Easter, which is interesting. And it's celebrated by men going out on outings, hiking, and carrying around a small wagon of beer and food.
A small wagon of beer and food. Well, that sounds like a normal summer day in Wheaton. I don't know.
Well, it does. So that's the history.
Thank you for that history, David.
Yeah, that's all I got. So I ran out of attention span and ability to kind of scroll down deeper in the Google.
Awesome. Well, now after our history lesson, I think we should lighten things up with some dad
That's
jokes.
a good idea.
I think we're going to bomb you all with some dad jokes. How does that sound?
Yeah, we want to be balanced. First, there's history, and now there's really corny humor.
Yeah, and I think our listeners in the U.S. know the idea of a dad joke. But
yeah, what is a dad
joke? I feel like that term came around not all that long ago.
Is it making fun of dads?
It's usually just kind of a bad joke.
Oh, it's cringy.
Kind of a corny joke.
Yeah.
A silly joke that dads are pretty good at pulling out when they just need to lighten things up, which can be a skill of a dad.
It's the ones that make our kids' eyes roll.
Yeah, but they're the ones that helped us collect some of these.
They
so, okay, so you want to just
We'll go back and forth
go
because
back.
I
Okay,
have.
you give one, I'll give one. We've got a few written down and a few that were shared with us.
And this first one I got from my grandpa. So he told this dad joke.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he said, "How did the farmer win his award, David?" And I'm like, "I don't know, Grandpa." He goes, "He was outstanding in his field."
But
We should add a laugh.
Outstanding in his
A
field.
laugh track.
Gotcha. Okay, here's another old man one. Why did the old man fall down the well?
I don't know why.
He didn't see that well.
Oh, he didn't see that well. All right. Well, mine's about a math book.
Okay.
Why was the math book always looking sad?
I don't know, David.
Because it had too many problems.
Wah, wah. Okay.
This is great.
Okay. A cheese factory blew up in France.
Oh, no. Was everybody okay?
Debris is everywhere.
Oh, okay. Well, this
Okay,
this one's more my area. Why can't you hear a pterodactyl going to the bathroom?
Why not?
Because
Why?
its P is silent.
You got to know how to spell pterodactyl for that one.
That's
Because
it.
his P is
His
silent.
P is silent.
Okay. All right. I was playing chess with my friend, and he said, "Let's make this interesting."
Uh-oh.
So we stopped playing chess.
Okay,
Says a
that's-
mom who's been to too many chess tournaments.
Oh, yeah, and lost way too many chess games. Why did the golfer wear 2 pairs of pants during his golf outing? It was in case he got a hole in one.
Oh, no.
Oh, I love that. Do you have any more?
I do. I have to look up.
Okay, while you're
Okay,
finding
you
that
go
other
next.
one, what do the Pacific and the Atlantic Oceans say to each other?
I see you.
Oh, that's good.
Is it close?
Nope. It says nothing. They just wave.
They just wave. Isn't that
ocean,
cute?
Get it? Ocean wave.
Ocean wave.
Although I like I
Okay.
see you.
Here's one that's relevant for what's going on in Wheaton. What do you call a cicada with a cold?
I don't know, Tara. What do you call a cicada with a
A
cold?
sick-ada.
A cicada.
That's from one of our kids.
Oh, man.
Okay, I think I got another one given to us by our kids. Oh, man. It's hard to... Okay, here we go. Dad asked me the other day, can I have a bookmark? And I was very upset. He should know my name is Zach by now.
I received that text today and I couldn't figure out why I was getting it.
He put it in the text chain instead of right to me.
Oh, that makes so much more sense. I feel better that was a joke. I was tempted to write back, Zachary, I know your name, even though I call you number 2 sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably enough. I mean, we could continue to go
I mean, we
on.
could do this all night, but
Yeah.
you get the idea. Dad jokes, they're fun and they're kind of a thing that dads can bring to the table of just making things light, keeping people laughing.
Yeah, playful wordplay. It makes you think a little bit like, oh, wait, oh, yeah, that's funny. And it's mostly clean. Which is always nice.
Yeah.
So for Father's Day, I mean we've celebrated Mother's Day in May, and now we're on to Father's Day. Kind of, what do you think are good celebrations for dads? So we want to reward them for all the dad jokes that they've been sharing.
What do I think are some good celebrations?
Yeah,
like some good ways to celebrate Father's Day?
Maybe we can talk about our own families and our family and ideas of celebration.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not probably the one to ask, but I think what's typical, you hear about dads getting ties for gifts.
I hate
Going
that.
for you, I think we usually took you to a baseball game.
Yeah, and I think this maps on with kind of love languages of how do you feel connected, cared for, valued, seen, and yeah, for me it's quality time, and so
And recreational
and
companionship.
baseball. Well, and I don't know. I mean, baseball came to my heart because of my grandmother, but it is my heart language. Like, it's the metaphor for life. And it's a sanctuary for me. So on Father's Day, you and the kids would take me to a ballpark, and it didn't have to be like a major league ballpark. Occasionally it was, but it could even be our local ballpark. And it was so much fun just being in the green grass and hearing the bat and the ball and smelling the leather. And some of the specialists, that's not a word. Some of the most special times were when we got to go out on the field and play catch. I remember the kids were little. My dad was with us, and we went out onto the field and we all played catch. And it was just, field of dreams moment for me.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, because I'm there with the people I love, being able to do the things I do. It captures a moment of just pure joy. And so I think doing things together, I know for my dad, the thing he loved most was going boating. And so we would go boating and have a picnic, and he loved driving the boat around. We're like, do you want us to do? He's like, nope. And he enjoyed being with us doing that. And we would kind of have a celebration of just time together outdoors. So there's a parallel, I think, in what I learned, how Dad wanted to be celebrated and what I enjoyed.
Yeah, and I think both of you like to spend time with people, and I think that's what every mom wants to, really, is just to be with the people she loves the most. And yeah, so that always worked well for us to take you to a game. But I think a lot of people struggle with what to do for Father's Day. It's kind of what you're getting at, right? Like, how do you decide, especially if you live far away, or, how do you acknowledge that person, or if you don't have a really close relationship at the moment, like, how do you celebrate or honor just the role that he had in your life? It can be tricky.
Yeah, and it's acknowledging it might not have been perfect, right? I mean, so people have mixed feelings about this, but I often think of it this way: there's a loyalty, a connection of, they gave us life. Even whether it was spectacular parenting or not, there is a part of their involvement of my existence that wouldn't be here without. And so you start at that very base level of just thankfulness for my existence, and that person had a part of that. And then you get into appreciation and gratitude.
Right. Finding something to be thankful for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think developmentally, there's different life cycle stages. Like when we had young kids, the best thing was breakfast in bed. Now, when you had the kids make the breakfast, it wasn't super great.
Yeah, but that's the funniest memories.
It
Burnt
is.
toast and orange juice that's spilling everywhere.
What they think I would like for breakfast.
I don't think either of us likes breakfast in bed, though.
No.
I remember Mother's Day, like church. You'd go to church on Mother's Day, and the pastor would often ask, "How many of you got breakfast in bed this morning?" And I was like, please don't make me breakfast in bed. I like to get out of bed with my food and be with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than, here's a little quiet time.
Yeah.
We'll bring food up and then we'll leave you alone.
Yeah, but I think because it was so iconic and such a thing that everybody suggested as the ultimate of luxury and what you could do for a parent.
Yeah.
I think both of us got offered that a few times.
Yeah. And we have to, as a parent, as a father, it's appreciating the gesture.
It's super cute, and it's little kids trying to balance this tray and bring in.
But now it's weird when they're in their 20s bringing breakfast in bed.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
No, we do different things. We go out for me, but we do have traditions around food.
Well, yeah, I think we've made that abundantly clear.
But I think that's another thing is the conversation, and the research is pretty strong. Families that eat together somewhat regularly do better in terms of relational connection. And so being able to do that and have a celebratory meal. Yeah.
I mean, our
helpful.
Celebrations around Father's Day have always been, if they weren't at the ballpark and eating food there, it was grilling here at home, you know, making a meal and sitting around and spending time consuming it.
Yeah. And I remember we didn't do this for Father's Day, but it's the same kind of thing of what you could do for Father's Day. When my dad turned 50, we made a video for him. You remember
yes,
that?
I remember that.
Have we talked about
I
that?
don't know if we have. Yeah, this was for his birthday, not for Father's Day, but this would make a splash.
Yeah.
We made a video when we lived far away and we couldn't be there for a milestone birthday, but we wanted to share our presence and give him an idea of what our lives were like. So we filmed when we lived in Pasadena at the time. And so we filmed all over the LA area.
Yeah, and you have to picture this. So those of us that are in our 50s, you can picture what a camcorder looked like.
Yeah.
But nowadays, everybody's thinking it was a little camera that we were filming. No,
I'm
it
trying
was
to
a
think
shoulder.
what to compare it to, but like it was the size of maybe a toaster, like a big toaster
Yeah.
or bigger
On your
on your shoulder.
looking through a little lens.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a small, even one of those handy cam. It was a bigger one that had the
Carrying it around.
the cassette tape, the VHS tape into the side. And yeah, we carried it around. So picture this, Tara and David traveling around Southern California, filming with this big camera and trying to represent our lives. So you took me to all sorts of uncomfortable places.
Yes.
So I was like, I'm excited about this idea. This will be fun. And we were newly married.
Yeah, I mean, we were 25, maybe
Yeah.
not even 25, and we were driving all over LA. I wish we could find that video, but we did one on the beach. Like, hey, we live near the ocean. This is,
Yeah, that was
a great
comfortable.
place. We never have surfed, but
Yeah.
that was fun. And then it happened to be 1994 during the O.J. Simpson trial.
Yeah.
So we actually went to O.J. Simpson's house
To Brentwood.
and filmed in front because it was on the news that was the only thing that was shown on TV at the time.
Yeah.
So it was kind of in everybody's mind. So we're like, oh, look where we live. We can walk to O.J. Simpson's house.
And we drove right up to the driveway. And then I had second thoughts about whether we should do this or not.
It was the most nervous I'd ever seen you in our relationship. And it made me,
I think still.
the camera was bouncing because I was laughing so hard.
I know. So I'm standing in the driveway of O.J. Simpson's house and Tara goes, go. And I'm like, well, Dad, here we are. And it was really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I made you really nervous. And then because Dad was a funeral director, we visited one of the famous cemeteries in Hollywood or something. I forget the name of
Is it Graceland?
No.
No, that's Elvis's place.
No, but yeah. We filmed from there, which you were more comfortable with.
Yeah, I was very comfortable in the cemetery.
The other place you were really uncomfortable was on
Hollywood
the
Boulevard.
Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yeah.
Near the Chinese theater.
Well,
and
creepy Spider-Man was trying to get really friendly with me while we were taping. He was mugging for the camera, and I was not
There were
wanting.
lots of interesting characters down there.
Yeah, people were yelling things, and you were laughing.
I know,
and I was like,
so funny.
please just make this stop. I don't know.
So that was for Dad, but clearly it was for us. So I think every good gift also pleases the gift giver.
I think that does, and I think I think with that, it's really hard to sometimes figure out good gift giving because that's another thing. So we have kind of quality time, showing things, caring for people in terms of acts of service. I mean, maybe we could talk about that. Like I would offer to wash the car for Dad during Father's Day.
Yeah, washing the car was definitely his. Well, it was his act of service. He was always washing his car, and he thought every car should be clean. So,
So I thought it would be a great treat to wash his car for Father's Day. And I'm pretty sure he redid it afterwards.
I'm 100% sure.
But he did appreciate the effort, but it was just kind of like, there's a certain way that you wash a car.
Well, yeah, it's got to he's an expert at that.
Yeah, and he would say that he failed as a father on some level because Nathan and I still, struggle with.
Everyone in town knows when your parents are coming.
Yeah.
Everyone here, because if you're washing your car, they know your dad's coming.
And then the last thing is gifts, and this is kind of what you talked about.
The last thing, are we on a list?
I don't know. I think I was just going through kind of Chapman's 5 love languages.
Oh, I see where we're going. I kind of missed that that categorization. Okay.
Yeah, and so then gift giving is another way of thinking about that. And that's what is popular in the US. I think these other things are probably more meaningful, especially if you know what is important to your dad to do those things. But the default is get a gift. And I've gotten interesting things. Tools. I like the tools, not the ties.
No, I don't remember the last time you were given a tie, but that's a very typical dad gift. Yeah.
And I don't think people wear ties all that much anymore.
It depends on what your business is, but yeah,
you buy
not a
your
lot.
own.
People are more casual.
So, yeah, and clothing really, I don't know if that's a good gift or not for dads. It depends on the person.
Do you remember the kids giving you gifts?
Yes, it was. Yes, I do. Kind of Georgia stuff. So University of Georgia hats and sweatshirts and things like that.
Yeah.
So
what did you give your dad? Did you give him gifts?
No, I think it was more time. I mean, we would get him maybe a car wash, but that wasn't great.
No, he likes to do it himself.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I remember for my dad giving him gifts. I do remember. I don't remember even what the gift was, but I remember a mishap when we were wrapping it. My mom had us all in her bedroom secretly wrapping something for my dad, and I was trying to cut the wrapping paper myself, and in the process, the scissors cut right through their bedspread.
Oh no, Tara!
Yeah, nobody was happy about that.
That makes it rough.
Yeah, but I don't think I think it is a very American thing to give gifts for everything, and we probably did more simple things.
I know you did things like writing notes and poems, and so that was the gift you gave to your dad was words.
Often it was words,
and really beautiful. And you went through a calligraphy period.
Oh yes, I did go through a calligraphy era. Yes,
and then some kind of I don't know if I want to say creative memories, but some kind of
scrapbooking
that you were doing too, of making photo books for him, because we lived further away, and so it was documenting and appreciating, and I think all of that for your dad and for my dad, it was about how do we communicate gratitude? How do we start with just thanks for giving us life, but then the kind of dads that they were in the best times and the difficult times.
Yeah. What are some things that popped to your mind about your dad? Like the top couple things that.
So the first is a funny story, but it embraces his tender, loving heart. And so we were somewhere doing some work, because we would do construction, and the telephone, one of those old rotary phones.
Wait, your dad was doing construction?
Yeah, well,
your dad.
It might have been we were cleaning up after some construction. It sounds more like what we were doing.
Okay.
That part doesn't stick with me. What stuck with me was there's a rotary phone on a shelf, and it fell on Dad's head, and he let out a expletive. And it's the one and only time I've heard him swear. And later in the day, and we tried not to laugh too hard, and then it was like, for cat's sakes, and it hurt. He came back to us and apologized for the language he used, and that's really kind of the tenderness of the kind of man my dad is. And he was always very gentle, very thoughtful, very kind, and setting limits, but doing it in a very gentle way. And I think of that as kind of part of the gentleness of it was just an emotional reaction. Didn't bother me at all. I played football and heard all sorts of things in the locker room. But for him, it was not who he wanted to be and how he wanted to be a model for us, and apologizing. But it was really significant of having a dad apologize. It set a example for me, in terms of, we're not going to be perfect, and we want to model and show honesty, openness, and he did that in lots of different ways. But that's the kind of funny way of just remember him saying the word and the phone hitting him on the head, and then his really strong connection relationally with us. How about for you? We'll go back and forth. I have a couple of other ideas.
Yeah, my best memories with my dad are hikes. He was really into hiking and lots of physical activity. He would take us on lots of adventures, but he had to hike. Like he loved anywhere we lived. If there was a mountain, we were going to climb it. And so, we did that a lot in Africa. I remember one day where I had my first, it wasn't a dance because we were at the boarding school. We didn't have dances, but there was like some special party that I think was related to Valentine's Day. It was a first sort of boy-girl sort of thing. I was like 13. And my dad that same day really wanted me to take this hike where we walked all the way from our home up Kajabi Hill, which is it was a long way off. It was a long way to get there and then to get to the top of it and back. And it was kind of grueling. And he was determined we were doing that. And I wanted to get back, and my mom had made me this special dress, and my mind was all on that. But I went with my dad, and the whole time I just remember him going to all sorts of lengths to get me to cheer up because I was being really grumpy about it. And he was telling, I mean, not these kind of dad jokes that we bombed everybody with, but like funny Swahili sayings. And he was just like, when I think about it now, he was really using all his energy to cheer me up and to be funny and to cajole me out of my mood while we did this hike. And it ended up being a great day.
Yeah.
But he was, and we had a hike, just the two of us once, where we went up a 14,000 footer in Colorado.
Nope.
Someday you might do that with me. But it was, I mean, he was very much a planner too. So when you just did not do that lightly, any hike, even a small hike, he would plan very carefully for our safety. He'd bring, even if it was just a day hike, we'd bring, thermal blankets and more than enough water and food, and you'd never hike alone. You go with a buddy. You told people what your plans were, so he was very deliberate about all of that. So I learned a lot of that, in my trip planning probably came from him.
I appreciate that gift because that's not my gift. And Dad Barnett really left that for us.
Yeah.
I think I have a couple of more, but the first one was how dads do things that might not be their favorite thing. And I think my dad coached me in baseball. He knew I loved baseball, as we just got done talking about. And he coached and I don't think he really knew the game all that well, but he coached with other guys because that's where we could do. It was what I loved to do, and he wanted to enter in and be with me. And so, kind of this self-giving love, selfless love. Like, I'll do this, and he was busy at being a funeral home director, and yet there's lots of other things he could do, and he was out on the ball field with me. And so that was something I was really thankful for, of how he gave his time in a thing that's not necessarily his favorite thing, but it became, since it was mine, it became something he invested in with me.
Yeah.
And that was precious.
Yeah, that is really cool. Yeah, and then you went on to coach all of our kids in baseball, so that's probably something you saw modeled.
Yeah, and it was different though because I loved it.
I know.
I would probably coach without the kids.
Yeah, that's probably true. You'd be out there anyway.
And then the last thing, was kind of the spiritual formation. I think both of our dads, that's something we're really thankful for. And I saw it in a funny way, in Dad trying to do devotions, and Mom and us kids were a little bit naughty occasionally, and it became time of laughter, and he was trying to be very serious and into God's word and devotions, and most of the time he was disciplined in doing that, and we off and on we were helpful that way. So his structure about this is important and this is going to be part of family time was important, and then the most important thing was seeing how he navigated the death of Kim, and a man doing grief and struggling through that in his relationship with Mom, and how he dealt with us, and just the honesty with his feelings, but boundaried and appropriate, was such a huge gift to me in my profession now, of seeing a model of a man that's vulnerable, open, honest, and boundaried. And it was connected to his honesty with his grief, of understanding how amazing God is, and yet the pain and not understanding, and being able to express that without kind of negating who God is in his eyes. Those are some very
Yeah.
things I'm super appreciative that I had that model, because it makes it easier to access experiencing that from a dad.
Yeah. That was really formative.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he still is that way. I would just say, as his daughter-in-law, he models a lot of things, but he's so thoughtful about noticing each person. And he'll, when we're all there with a whole bunch of people, he'll still remember to take me aside and ask me, how's your business going? How's your damaged finger? Like he remembers things and is very thoughtful and compassionate.
Yeah. He sees people.
He sees people. Yeah. He sees people, remembers their name. He's good relationally
and
that way.
Your dad was that way too. I appreciated him. He tolerated, like, he had a certain way of being and expectation for you kids and your family. And then this crazy Dutchman comes into the family.
Yeah, you shook things up.
But he embraced me and was playful and a spiritual mentor for us and our kids. And I was super thankful for your dad's playfulness. And
yeah, you had a way of bringing that out.
Laugh.
Yeah, he did like to laugh. He loved a good joke.
Which none of the ones we shared were good jokes.
No, but he probably would have laughed at them. He was also like the best person to come to for advice. I always felt like I get something really wise from him. Like I would sit down with something I was struggling with, and he would sit down and listen, and then he'd get out a piece of paper and a pen, and he'd write pros and cons, and he'd help you really navigate this. Here's the pluses to this choice and the con, which was really helpful and structured for me. But he also, with more theological things, like I remember coming to him with a really hard spiritual question, and he could have just answered it. Like he had wise answers to those things, but he said, I want you to go spend the next week looking up scripture. Like here's how to use a concordance. Here's how to look up verses. I want you to do some study and see what you think about the answer to this question, and bring it back to me next week, and we'll talk about it. And that taught me so much about just figuring out myself, and then getting a wise person to discuss it with me and seeing if I was kind of on the right track.
Yeah.
So he was really measured with his advice giving.
That is so Stan.
Yeah.
It really was. And it's not how I am. So it was interesting to see that and be appreciative of what he brought into my life that wasn't a skill set, but highlighting what was necessary to live life well. I also love that he would talk about the Bible being the guidebook for life, and spend a lot of time probably with you kids doing that.
Yeah.
And then with their grandkids, our kids, he would have little lessons about, here, this is the guidebook of life.
This is the instruction book.
Just like we have instruction manuals or guidebooks for other things. And so what can we learn? And then his teaching ability to evoke the responses, like with you, of like, do the research, come back, let's talk about it once you have your opinions, and valuing, not necessarily agreeing with, but valuing the process and open to changing his mind or being influenced by your research.
Yeah.
Was really a powerful thing.
It really was. Yeah. I miss that. I would love to come to him with lots of questions still.
Yeah. The last kind of, probably the most powerful lesson I learned from my dad was seeing how he loved a neighbor well of ours. So that was a neighbor had an illness and was a socially unacceptable illness, and a lot of people rejected him. And my dad showed up every day, kind of turning him, giving sheepskin so he didn't get bed sores, and kind of just loved him when not a lot of people did, up through his death. And it just was really seeing the life lived out, love for Jesus that he did for a neighbor, that there was nothing in return. There was nothing beneficial. People were curious, like, why is he doing this? And that dad did that. That stuck with me so deeply.
It's a very different lesson than him telling you to love your neighbor.
Yeah, he didn't talk about it.
He didn't talk about it.
No.
He just did it, and you witnessing that is a lot more impactful.
Yeah, it changed. It was a center part to my life of how to love well, regardless of what people think. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a gratitude and a life lesson I
Yeah.
learned by watching my dad.
We know how fortunate we are to have had such good models in our dads, really, because I know it's not everybody's experience, and a lot of times those are difficult relationships.
Yeah.
And for us, those relationships have given us a lot of guidance for our own parenting, and we can only hope to do as well or close as our fathers did.
Well, and I think it's life lessons for all of us of wow, how are we striving towards? So if we didn't have dads that loved well or modeled well, how do we learn from the not doing it that way? And kind of that's the shadow. So what does the shadow point to? So if stealing is a shadow of a generosity, can we, from our difficult experience, look towards what the other thing is, and live in that space? And it's and thankful for the ability to do that. So it is hard though, because it stirs up a lot of feelings that aren't gratitude.
Yeah, but it's never too late for us to change the patterns.
Yeah, break cycles.
Yeah.
Break those intergenerational cycles.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Did you have something else you wanted to add? Because I have a little something to end with.
No, I think I think this is a nice spot to do the ending.
Well, I have a little something. I asked all of our children to give me a little something that they're thankful for about you.
Oh, I'm so glad there's not a camera.
Surprise!
So.
So they all gave me a little something, and I think it's fair to honor you for Father's Day. So this was all like on the spot because we just decided we're doing this like
15
an hour ago
yeah.
or something. Okay. And these are just little things. Okay. So a little something from Jacob.
Yeah.
I love that Dad shared his love of baseball with me, as it's something that still brought me much joy that I've gotten to share with others. So he appreciates that love that you have for baseball. You guys have spent a lot of time together at baseball games.
Yeah. I still have baseball cards, not cards, scorecards.
Yeah.
Scorecards that we have kept, very precious games like different birthdays, and we can go through and look at and recreate the whole game together.
I know.
We're
I think
nerds.
There's a special place in certain men's brains for baseball stats and stuff. I don't have that.
That's lovely.
Okay. Let's move it along. Okay. So from your daughters-in-law, so from Rachel, something I enjoy about David is that he's both introverted and extroverted. He's got the rep of being loud and social and hugging people left and right. But then the next minute, he's home asleep in his chair. I think that's precious.
Oh, thank you, Rachel.
She also says he also gifted Jacob like 6 pairs of cleats in one sitting one time. And I thought that was really sweet. I appreciate that he's always rolled out the welcome mat for me since the beginning. He's always made me feel like he's got my back and he's on my team. He is on your team, Rachel.
Yes.
We are. That was really sweet. Okay, something from Zach. Let's see, where's Zach?
Who's Zachary again?
That's not cool. Yeah, he's Mark, the one that gave the joke about Mark.
Yeah, bookmark. That's right.
The bookmark. Oh my goodness, this is hard when you're searching through text. Okay, I think we're going to have to go with somebody else first because I'm looking in a... Oh no, he says that he appreciated the projects. He's such a tactile kid. He loved the projects like Pinewood Derby cars where we got to work together and make or do something together.
Yeah, we did a lot of chiseling and sanding, and it was fun to see his creativity and foster that. Thank you, Zachary. Love you, buddy.
Okay. So I should have really organized these beforehand. Okay. Annika said, and I've got something from Abigail. I've just got to find it.
Yeah.
The thing about my dad, I remember the day I called him crying at midnight when I had no ride home from my junior prom. I felt forgotten and like I was stuck in a silly little movie cliche, but he came and picked me up. I felt very loved. He's incredibly loyal, loving, and self-sacrificial. He also gives great hugs and compliments.
Oh, baby.
Do you remember rescuing her in the middle of the night?
I had a lot of different emotions, and protecting and caring for my daughter was the primary one. And I also thought about like seeking out all of her friends. So,
Yeah, well, there were some misunderstandings that night, but she was alone and you picked her up.
Yeah.
Okay, Abigail says, I love how competitive Dad is. Card games together are always an adventure.
Yes, we're not afraid to go after each other and still care about each other.
No, that's so much fun. And that is one of your love languages,
Yes.
that competitiveness.
Yeah.
And Ryan adds, I'm glad he powers through when I make spicy food.
Well, I am very thankful for Ryan's gift of his culinary talents.
Yes.
And yes, occasionally it burns a hole through my heart, but I appreciate it deeply. Well, I'm thankful for the kids being able to see my heart even when make mistakes, and it's a beautiful thing to do this messy thing called life together.
Yeah, happy Father's Day.
Thank you very much, and to all the dads out there, happy Father's Day.